Hi guys, this is Chodaros Designs, Chodaros Bling, and today's bracelet is called the Crossing Prayers bracelet, and it was created by Instagram Jane Koshan. I hope I pronounced it correctly. You can find her link to Instagram below. Make sure that you do check out her account. She's a great loomer. Also, the rendition of this bracelet. So it will take about 18 beads. It was suggested 16, but for my wrist size I needed 18. And these are 6mm beads, okay? So as I've been explaining in other tutorials, if you look at the thickness of this bracelet, by looking at it even on Instagram you can tell it's not a thick bracelet. So that gives you a kind of an indication on what size bead you want. With this type of thickness, a 6mm will fit in there perfectly where it is not bubbling up and you can see it on both sides. If you would happen to put an 8mm in there, you probably end up seeing more of that. So it will be your preference. Super simple, super easy. It takes about 70 bands. And we're going to go ahead and grab our supplies and get started. Okay, so we're going to need about 16 beaded bands with the beads would be about 6mm is what's suggested. My choice of bands, these are the 600 pack dual layer, or they're the sweets blue. This one I believe is a dual layer. It's black and white, I don't know. Anyway, they can both be found on rainbowloom.com. So there are a couple ways that you can do this and with the transfer. If you have a double-sided hook, then I would suggest using that. I would rather use mine, but you don't have to because your transfer is nothing too elaborate. So we're going to take our colors. I'm going to, all of my beaded bands are on that blue, this blue here. So we're going to use a plain band blue and a beaded band blue in the design. So you want to make sure you still have some of those left over. I don't want that hook. I don't want that one either. Okay. So you want to make your cap band, and then you want to take one of each color, and then whichever one that your beaded band is going to be on, which mine is going to be the blue, we want to put it on the hook first. So then we want to pull both of those bands through that cap band and then recapture, making sure that whichever band is going to be the beaded colored band is on the outside. Okay? And then we're going to take the beaded band color. We're going to pull it through the first two loops, and then we're going to recapture the loop closest to your hook. And then before we reconnect, we're going to take this loop that's on our hook that we just put on and pull it over the hook, and then you can reattach. So it kind of makes that little cross there. So then we're just going to either turn it around or slide it down. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So the only time that we don't use a bead in this bracelet is just this beginning step here. So then we pull the band through the first two loops on our hook, recapture that first band, and then before we close it up, we want to take this band we just put on and push it over the hook and then reattach. So you should have something like this. And now we're going to start with our beaded band. So I'm going to show you the way that Jane Koshan had explained. And if you prefer to do it that way, you can, but I'm going to do it a different way. I'm just going to put some bands here so I have some, and then move these cups. Okay, so you want to make sure you have your beaded bands because we're going to start using them. So the way that she does it is she transfers one side of the design onto a new hook, so it is up and down like this. Okay, and then since we're going to start over with step 1, that's whenever we take 2 bands. So we take one of each color, but this time it's going to have a bead on it, and we want to make sure that our beaded band goes down first. And then we want to put the second band on top like that. And now we just simply want to take the bottom 2 bands and pull them up and over the 2 bands that we just placed. Like that. So she finds this way the easiest way to add those 2 bands to the design. So you can do it that way, and then the next step would be to transfer it all onto one hook again. So I'm just going to take that off and put that back on like that. So that is your first bead in the pattern. So now that we have 4 bands on our hook, we want to go ahead and take the beaded colored band and repeat where we stick a band through the first 2 loops. We recapture that first band, and then we push this over top of our hook and then close it up. And that's what gives you that zigzag look. So let's push it down or turn it around. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Pull a band the first 2 loops, recapture the one closest to your hook, take this band here and push it over your hook and then close it up. Okay? And then after that, that's whenever we take our beaded band and our plain band. So I'm going to do it a different way, but you need to do it whichever way makes you feel comfortable. So first, goes the beaded band. The beaded band has to be on the outside. So first you want to put your beaded band. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold these 2 bands kind of together because that first band doesn't have a bead on it. And I'm going to slide these 4 bands over top. So I'm going to just pull them over with my fingers. Okay? So we're still holding on over here, and this is exactly the same as when you typically put a bead on a chain, is you have to take one part of it and stick it on the right side of that bead, and then you have the other side. So that way whatever you pull on is on both sides of that bead. And then you just want to make sure that your colors are in order, so black should go on first and then that blue, and then close it up. So this is exactly what we just did on those 2 hooks. So if you find it easier to do on 2 pegs, 2 hooks, 2 pencils, then go ahead and do that. Just make sure that your beaded band color is on the outside. And now we take our plain band, pull through the first 2 loops, recapture the one closest to our hook, take this band and pull it over our hook like that and then close it up. Slide it down and do the same thing, always grabbing the band that our bead color, the same color band that you have your beads on. Okay, so then we just recapture and then take that and push that over and close it up. Okay, so that's what you should have, and you can clearly see that pattern. It's forming nicely and it doesn't go anywhere, so it's pretty cool. Always making sure that these black bands are in the center, because essentially whenever we just took that band and we pulled it through those two loops, we're always recapturing, like in my case, it's the black band. All right, so then we're going to take our beaded band and then our plain band, and we're going to slide these 4 bands on top and then pulling over the right 2 over the right side of that bead, so that way it falls in the center, and then we just want to close it up. Like that. So that black band that's down there, I'm not sure if it's supposed to lay on the top. It seems to want to lay on the top. I know at one point I was kind of pushing it down because I thought it was supposed to lay at the bottom. It seems to be laying at the top, so. But mine's twisted. Oof, God, these bands always having to untwist. Okay, so once we add that bead, then we just take a band, recapture, push over the hook, close it up, and then slide it down. And do the same. And see, now my bands just got twisted right there. And that black, excuse me, that black has to stay on the inside. So you have to make sure, excuse me, because that's the band that we're recapturing. So if you by chance use the same colors or something, you got to make sure that you have that band in the right place. I love it. All right, we'll do it one more time and then we'll go off, make a little bit, or you can make the whole thing, and then we will close it up. So beaded band, and then a plain band, and pull the 4 loops over top. And my loops got twisted because they're sticky, so I have a 1 band that needs to come over that bead. Give it a little pull, and that way I can see all my bands are in the right place, and then simply close it up. And then we add our plain band, recapturing the first, pushing that over, close it up. So these, as I mentioned, are the really thin bands, the dual layer or whatever they're called, and they work perfect. And I'm not a fan of them. I will over time, I'm sure, become more of a fan, but with my kind of designs, I typically I like the thicker bands because they're more elegant, I think, in some ways, but I'm sure that is going to change. Oops. That was luck. And you know, you don't have to push these over. You could just add that in, and then once that side is on your hook, then you could go ahead and pull these bands over. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it with holding your hook. See, like this blue one and black, they weren't in there straight. Now that they're straight, they should look like the other side. What did I do? Why is that thing missing? Give me 1 second. I'm going to take those 2 bands back out that I just put, because it looks like I am missing see how that band's looped over? I don't have that. Well, I think I'm going to have to go off and just fix this one up. But all in all, if you need any more help, just go back and rewind. And 6mm works really good because it just fits perfect that you can see it on both sides. And usually how you pick bling or beads is on how thick your bracelet's going to be. So if you want a big bead, then you have to have a thick bracelet or it's going to hump up. But this is just perfect size for a 6mm bead. So go ahead and finish up your bracelet. I'm going to fix up my one side here, and then we will meet back to close it up. All right, so I have mine completed, and hopefully you do as well. So it came out really nice. I really like this. It looks very familiar. Chloe, maybe? But I know this was put out there to see if anybody had seen it before. But anyway, what I did was I had to add 2 more beads. So instead of 16, I put 18. And then that after I placed the bead, I did the next step. So this is the step that you need to be at to close up your bracelet. So I'm just going to simply take a band and slide it through all 4 of those bands. And then add my C-clip. And then we're done. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you are satisfied with your bracelet. Please make sure that you show us on Instagram, hashtag Jane Koshan, which you can find her link below, and Chodaros _bling. Would love to see your renditions. So stick around. I have a lot more tutorials coming up here shortly. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.